Hi, I'm Mike Stephen and this is Gear Up. Today we're going to talk about cross country. There's a lot to talk about cross country, so we're going to skim over some stuff. Hopefully give you a little bit of information about the different disciplines of cross country and the stuff that goes along with that. So first off, we're going to start off with the backcountry cross country section. So when you're into backcountry cross country, the ski is going to be a little bit wider than usual. It's going to have a metal edge. Some don't have metal edges, some are just wider. The thing about a metal edge is a metal edge does slightly slow down the ski. Metal sticks to snow. The extra width also slows down the ski. So a backcountry ski isn't your most efficient, fastest ski, but in the backcountry, it is, because it's going to give you enough flotation to actually travel through the snow. Another person that likes the backcountry, cross-country style skis is somebody that wants that extra bit of stability. You've got a big platform to stand on here. You've got great edges to be able to power that platform so that you can be a lot more stable if you need to snowplow, slow down, do all that kind of stuff. You've got a great amount of stability out of here. So two people that are potentially seeking this type of ski, and this is just two potentials, but somebody that wants great amount of stability out there cross-country skiing, because I do not want to crash. The other thing would be somebody that says, hey, you know what, I want to take my dog for a walk, so I can't go to the local trails where they're groomed. I'm going to take off, make my own trails. It's not that these can't go on the local trails, the more groomed trails. They're just going to be a little bit slower and less efficient. With the backcountry cross-country ski, the boot also is a little bit beefier. It looks more like a hiking boot. It's got a little bit more beef to it, got a little bit more up in the ankle. It's stiffer. It's got a wider toe pin. That's the interface that mates with the binding. So with the stability of this boot and the stability of that ski, you're into probably some of the most stable stuff you can get into cross-country skiing. And anybody that's tried cross-country skiing, it's a little slippery and a little bit dicey in terms of your balance point and finding that and getting good at it. So a little bit of stability will help a lot of people. The next category of people are people that say, you know what, chances are I'm just going to go up to the local areas. I'm going to go up to the Kimberley ski trails or your local ski trails, and I'm going to go in the groomed trails. With that, there'll be a spectrum of skis, and within all these categories, there's a spectrum of skis. I showed you one backcountry ski, but there's actually several different widths, narrower, wider, depending on whether you're more into the backcountry or more might want to bring it the odd time inbounds. Whereas in-track skis, they vary a little bit in terms of width, but not a lot. They're all going to be in around this width. They're not going to go a lot wider than this. And what they're designed for is in those set tracks, they're fairly efficient. They move fairly quickly down the trail. This one, for example, has scales on the bottom. It's called a grip ski. So with these scales, that is how you get your grip from cross country. So when you put all your weight down onto one foot, the scales kick into the ground. When you push off of that, that's where you get your forward momentum. Then you glide, then you shift all your weight to the other foot and kick off of it. So that's a little bit of the technique behind cross-country skiing, whether it be backcountry cross-country or in-track cross-country. And how that works is the ski is cambered. So I don't know if you can see it on there, but the ski actually has a shape kind of like a bow. So it's highest in the center, lowest in the tip and the tail. And the whole idea behind that is that when you are standing on the ski, equal weight on both feet, most of the grip pocket should be just slightly off the ground. Whereas when you transfer your weight all onto one ski, you need that grip pocket to go down, touch the ground, and get you grip. If you don't get grip, you're just going to be sliding around everywhere. So this is where I'm going to bring up sizing of cross-country skis. So the sizing of cross-country skis is done vast majority by weight. There is a little bit of height to consider in terms of the height of the rider, but by far the most important feature is the weight of the rider, because that's what affects that camber, how it grips and how it glides. If you're too heavy for a ski, you're not going to get great glide. If you're too light for a ski, you're not going to get great grip. So that's why it's important to size your ski properly to you. And that's also why it's important to know that one 179 ski and another 179 could be two totally different cambers or stiffnesses. So that's where you need a little bit of help selecting the right ski for you so that you get good grip and good glide. We're gonna go back to the Escape 5 here. So this ski, again, designed for in-track. It's fairly efficient. The other style of ski that you're going to see is you could get this 5 in an exact same ski, except for instead of a mechanical base or a scaled base, you could get a waxable base. And what waxable means is that you're going to put wax on it for the grip phase of cross-country skiing. So you figure out your grip pocket. It's usually a little bit more advanced skiers that are interested in that, because waxing is more efficient and it is faster. Yes, it takes some time, and each time before you go up to the hill, you have to wax your ski for the grip portion. The big thing about it is making sure that you've got the right temperature, the right thickness. There's all sorts of waxing clinics and videos. I'm not going to go in depth into waxing because that's a whole topic upon itself. The reason why people go to scales is for the simplicity of it. A scaled ski still needs to be waxed. It's just going to be glide waxed. So you're going to glide wax the tip and the tail. And if you're using a liquid wax, you can liquid wax over the scales, but you do not want to hot wax over the scales. And when you're going to do that is when the ski gets a little bit sticky and you're starting to feel a little bit of drag. That wax will really help you be more efficient and glide better. You'll get a little bit longer ski for your tank of gas, for how much energy you have. You'll get to go a little further. So we've talked about wax skis. We've talked about mechanical base or fish scaled skis. Now I want to talk about something that's fairly new in the industry, and that is skin skis. So in the actual place where you'd see the grip portion of the ski, this guy has a skin. And a skin offers the grip, but it glides a lot better than a scale. These guys aren't quite as fast as a waxed ski, but they're close. They actually glide incredibly well and much more efficient. So that person that says, you know what, I'd love to have a wax ski, but I just don't want to put in the time to be waxing it every time before I go up to the resort. But man, my scales are so slow. I ski with wax skiers all the time and they blow me out of the water. This is the answer. So skin skis go right up to, believe it or not, up into the high levels of skis. They'll build very high performance skin skis. And with those high performance skin skis, they're coming with basically just higher performance construction. So the construction of the ski using carbons, using all sorts of other stuff to lighten up that ski, faster bases, all that kind of stuff. So why I'm saying that is just to show that this skin technology is worthy of going quite fast. Like it works really quite well. It's one of the things that we've had a tremendous amount of success with. A lot of people switching over to this. The other neat little side effect about it is that it's quiet. Scales kind of have a zzz, zzz kind of noise that goes with them, whereas a skin ski is nice and quiet. You don't even hear the skin as it glides over the snow. People ask, because this is new technology, people are always a little wary. They say, well, what happens if your skin wears out? Your skin will wear out, actually, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take a season. At minimum, if you're a hardcore skier skiing almost every day, whereas your average person is probably going to get 2 to 3 seasons out of them. Skins are not expensive. It's less money than it would cost to wax your skis for a season, for example. The next thing we'll talk about real quickly is the type of boot that you would use with this setup. You'd potentially use something like this, something that has a little bit of ankle support. This boot would be a boot that you'd maybe mate up into either that skin ski package or the grip ski package. And something like this guy, you're going to see it has an upper cuff, so this is a little bit nicer boot. Has an upper cuff, some stability on the top of the boot. Has a zippered gaiter to keep all the laces and stuff like that out of the snow. Helps seal in the heat and stop ice and snow from forming on the laces and making you cold. The other thing is, if you look inside of the boot, it's really nicely lined. This is a Thinsulite lined boot, so it's actually quite warm. Cross-country ski boots are kind of like slippers when you slide them on. They're pretty darn comfortable. Really, when it comes down to it, my recommendation for you is you try a few boots on and go for the one that A, makes the most sense, but B, is the most comfortable on your foot, and your foot will be happy in it, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to matter, that your feet are comfortable and you're happy out there. So we've kind of gone over two different categories of ski and two different categories of boots. The last category I'm just going to touch briefly on. The last category is when you start getting up into your race product or your sport level product, where people are taking it to going and doing a loppet or going and doing some races. They're starting to look for every advantage that they can possibly get. There's two different styles of skiing in cross country once you get into kind of the upper level, and that is classic, which is the traditional forward movement, and skating, which is where you push off the inside of the ski and you get your momentum that way. Very similar to a hockey skate stride, but obviously your skates are a lot longer. So first we'll go over skate. So skate skiing is definitely a good workout. It seems when you first start skate skiing, the technique, until you get some technique under your belt and until you get a little bit of cardio built up, it seems like you're either moving or you're absolutely exhausted and have to take a break. There is a learning bubble on it for sure, and once you get over that learning curve, skating can be awesome, and it's a really fast sport. It's much faster than classic. You can move down the trail faster. You use a slightly longer pole with it because you're moving faster, so that you want to be able to set the pole and still get a good push, so you're using a longer pole and a shorter ski. So the ski is a little bit shorter, a little bit stiffer. Again, the ski still, even though it's skate, it still wants you to size the ski by weight, not height. Height can be a little bit of more of a determining factor in a skate ski. Some of the companies are kind enough to write, for example, on this ski, it's 110 pounds to 154 pounds, which is what this ski is designed for. So some companies are writing it right on the ski, what they're designed for. Other companies don't have it on, and you've got to do some research. What makes this a high-end skate ski is how light it is. If you look at this, that's actual a carbon wrap. So they're using carbon fiber as the main outer structure of the ski. Inside, it's a very lightweight air core. So there is material in there, but there's a lot of air in there too. So that's how these guys get so light. They are still quite strong, and cross-country skiers usually keep their skis for quite a long period of time because they do stand up quite well. So with skate skiing, you're going to use definitely a more supportive boot than you would for classic. So again, it starts to look a little bit more like a backcountry boot maybe, but it fits more like a high-performance running shoe. So you've got a closure across here, a closure across here, lacing up the middle. Again, this one's kind of a higher-end one, so it's using a carbon shell to give you that stiffness, carbon supports to give you that extra bit of stiffness and reduce the weight out of the boot. You can get into skating at like a a lower level as well. This is just some premium product that I am showing you, but you can get into it at a very affordable rate as well. It's usually not people's first kick at the cat in terms of skiing. They're usually going to have enjoyed cross-country skiing and want to move on to skating because they've seen these people zipping by them looking like they're having a lot of fun. And a lot of people move into skating from there. So skating, again, being that movement that you're pushing out to the side, shorter ski, longer pole, very supportive boot. People can bluff and do a little bit of a skate ski on their classic stuff. It's not going to be as stable, it's not going to be as nice because you're running a longer ski, it's a softer ski, the boot isn't quite as supportive, but you can get an idea for it. So if you kind of enjoy it, then you can make the decision if you want to start getting into that as well. So classic. So what happens in high-end classic skis is it's kind of a simple formula. As you go higher and higher and higher in the levels of classic skis, that they're going to achieve the narrowest width of the ski, because a narrow ski glides really fast. They're going to give you the highest end base material money can buy. For example, this is a G5 zeolite base, and that means that it's a carbon sintered base with zeolite infused into the base. And when you have zeolite infused into the base, it's a mineral that makes the ski a lot faster. Very similar to the skate ski, it's going to have lightweight construction, so the construction is going to be nice and lightweight in the ski as you move up. You're going to start to get things like carbon stringers running in the ski as you move up. Carbon gives a nice poppy feel. It also pulls a little bit of weight out of the ski. So you can kind of get into classic skis from the very, very, very basic all the way up to kind of your high-end race classic skis. And it really just depends on who you are, what you're planning on doing, and how fast you want to move down the track, and whether you're going to potentially be racing or not. I'd say the vast majority of people that come into our shop, at least for cross country, are looking for something to go out there and have fun in the wintertime. And most of these middle packages that we talked about, like either a BC package or the skin ski package or the grip ski package, most of those packages are the ones that people are very happy with and have a great time with and can use for many, many years. I hope this has explained a little bit about cross-country skiing. There's so much to go over. We didn't even really talk about poles, but I hope this has given you a little bit of information to go on. And as always, go to your local ski shop and they'll help you out with all the bits and pieces that I omitted and haven't told you. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Mike Stephen. Hi, I'm Mike Stephen, and this is Gear Up. Today we're going to talk about maintenance on your bike. I'm going to talk about a few things, end of season maintenance and beginning of season maintenance. My big recommendation to you is at the end of the season to, if you have a suspension bike in particular, to get your suspension work done over the winter, where there's lots of times to get parts, lots of times to have things sent away if they need to be sent away back to the factory to be done. Because some tuning of suspension can be done, or service of suspension particularly, can be done in-house. Some has to be sent away back to the factory to be redone. So you have the back suspension, which is right here, your rear shock, and your front suspension, which is right here. Both systems use air and oil, and both systems need servicing. So the realistic thing to do on these guys is to bring it in at the end of the season like we talked, and then we have plenty of time to get that servicing done. Do you have to service it right at the end of the season? No, you could probably get away 2 to 3, 4 years without servicing. But it's just like doing that same thing with your vehicle. If you change your oil on your vehicle fairly regularly, you should probably change out the oil in your suspension. It'll just allow your suspension to last longer and perform better. A lot of companies will have service intervals of what to do after 50 hours, what to do after 100 hours, what to do after 200 hours, and your kind of 365-degree after 1 full year, what you should be doing to your suspension. A lot of the stuff isn't very expensive, and the preventative maintenance, like I say, can save you from a big bill. This, for example, is an air sleeve kit. Goes in your rear suspension, and it just replaces the seals and the glide rings and allows that rear shock to be nice and clean. It's the first area of the shock that gets contaminated when dust and grime tries to come past. And if you clear out that first stage area, it keeps your suspension running smoother a lot longer. So we talked about sending away your forks and rear shocks or potentially getting them worked on in-house at the end of the year. Now it's the beginning of the year. It's time to dust off the bike and get the bike out and ready. Seeing as we're talking about suspension, we'll continue on. One of the things that you're going to do, and you should do in the spring, is these air cans are high pressure. They can be holding 200 pounds air pressure in them. So it's a good idea to double check your air suspension and make sure that the air is still holding. So by attaching a shock pump onto your air valve, you can quickly discern whether you've lost pressure over the winter or whether it's still holding tight. But it's a good thing to do your rear and your front air pressure at the beginning of the season. That way you know how your bike's gonna behave. For those of you that run tubeless, if you're running tubeless, chances are your solution has dried out over the winter. So tubeless, what replaces your tube in a lot of scenarios is a solution that goes into your tire. That solution sits in there and it can plug flats. It can plug like a staple hole, a nail hole, pinch flats. It can plug all those types of flats. But if over the winter it's dried up, it'll still hold air, but it won't protect you from the next incident, the next thing that you run over, the next tack, the next whatever. So it's a good idea again in the spring, top up. 2 ounces of fluid is a general. Depending on your tire width and size, it does vary, but put 2 ounces of fluid back into your wheel so that you're protected again. The next thing that we're going to talk about is a real simple one. This should be done all the time. I recommend every 3rd or 4th ride at minimum, and that's lubing your chain. So lubing your chain is something that's really simple to do and will just give you better drivetrain life, smoother shifting. It'll help in a lot of different ways. The easiest way that I've found to lube the chain is go to your back. Right, this is called the cassette. There's your chain. So you lube your chain right above your cassette while pedaling backwards. You just put some lubricant on. All you need to do is 1 complete revolution of the chain. Once you're done 1 complete revolution of the chain, you've lubed your chain. I like to let the lube sink in for about 5 minutes and then wipe the lube off the chain after the 5 minutes. The reason why I say to do that is that any of the lubricant that has gone into the links of the chain where the links actually moved, it's where it's supposed to be. The stuff that's on the exterior of the chain really isn't doing a lot of good. So if you wipe that part off, it'll keep your chain from getting grimy and crusted with trail debris and trail grime. Okay, so we've talked about doing some maintenance on your chain. The next thing that we're going to talk about is air pressure in your tires. So once you've done that stands or put the tubeless solution into your tires, my recommendation, again, it's very similar to chains, is you should be pumping up your tires. I do mine every single ride. On a mountain bike, at least once a week, you should be checking your air pressure. The reason why I say that is because the whole reason to go tubeless in a bike is that you get better feel for the ground. But if you're running 30 psi, then 28 psi, then 26 psi as your tire slowly loses air, which they normally do, it's natural, it's fine. Tubes have micropores in them, and the stands also has micropores. It will slowly lose a little bit of air. If you constantly have that air pressure set at a certain PSI, you'll have more confidence out on the trail. It's gonna always be that 32 PSI or that 18 PSI, whatever you're setting your tires to, and you will have one more thing that's very consistent out on the trail, so that the inconsistencies like the weather, the trail changing, all those are the things that you're gonna have to think about. You don't have to think about how your tires are gonna be gripping. Okay, so that's going over tires. The last thing that we're gonna go over is just a good safety check on the bike. What you should do is you should check, yes, unfortunately it is every nut and every bolt on the bike. There's Allen key, there's torque spits. If you have an Allen key and a torque spit, so you're gonna go over all your suspension bolts, your derailleur bolts, your disc bolts, your suspension bolts up in here, some of your crank mechanism down in here, and then up in the head tube of the bike. The thing that I'll caution you on this end of the thing, or on this end of maintenance, is not tightening it too much. Just snug is good. You don't have to be cranking it. A lot of people over tighten bolts and can cause damage. So you don't want to cause damage to your bike by doing some maintenance. So again, with those bolts, just a light torque. If you do have Torx wrenches, there is torque spec for every single bolt on a bike, and you can get that from your manual. Having said that, once you get a feel for the bike, a good snug bolt, you can feel when it's snug. So those are some of the things that I recommend going over in the springtime before you take your bike out for a ride. Have fun, get out there in the trails and enjoy. This has been Mike, Steven, and Gear Up.